representations of the king. What you need to keep in mind is this is largely, what does Xerxes want the image to be? Okay. So presentation of yourself as a king was important. And even if you think about politicians today, guys, it still is important about what your image is and how you're seen. And there's a lot of time and effort and work that goes into creating your image and maintaining that image. Okay, so this idea of Xerxes and how he is seen is a part of him retaining control. When we look at Xerxes and what he says and what he does and what he kind of portrays himself to be, don't necessarily think of it as a specific event. Sometimes it is, it's supposed to be this kind of ideal king and use of symbolism to be effective. So not afraid of using propaganda. The main ideas that we're going to kind of talk about is Xerxes as the great king and king in state. Connected to Ahura. Actually, we're not going to go over a connection to Ahura Mazda because, largely speaking, we have covered that a lot. Xerxes as a mythical hero and Xerxes as the military leader. Okay, so as the leader, don't forget we've actually got images of Xerxes as the crown prince. So as you can see here, this is Darius facing some servants. And we've got Xerxes standing right behind him here. So they're on the same level above the other ones. They look very similar. The beard, the hair, almost exactly the same. Now and holding the lotus flower as well. We're actually going to cover eventually why it was okay for Xerxes and Darius to look exactly the same, and they actually wanted that to happen. We're going to go over that in class. It does tell us that appearance is very important. Now, when we talk about Xerxes as the portrayal of the great king, that's the king of the dynasty and the king of a great empire. When we talk about the king in state, that's regarding what duties has Xerxes got and what has Xerxes particularly achieved. Okay? Once again, the beard, the hair, the clothes, the flower, the posture, being above, all of this is kind of in regards to being not of the same hierarchy as everyone else and that display of power. So the idea of Xerxes as a hero, if you look around Persepolis, we can find some reliefs and carvings of Xerxes fighting mythical monsters. Okay, a slayer of enemies and beasts alike. Again, we're not necessarily looking at this as a specific literal event, but sometimes symbolism. We find a source, another one as well, depicting a royal hero stabbing a lion monster of some kind. As well as mythical heroes, as well as their idea that they've got to uphold, administration and religion, and they've got to, be economically kind of successful and build stuff as well. They also has to be worthy in combat. They've got to be a good military leader. And so Darius, Xerxes' father, is definitely okay with having this widespread image of himself as a military leader. He's got himself, this is Darius imprinted on some coins, on some Darics. Which is interesting because even though they're portraying themselves as these military leaders, largely speaking, they're trying to promote themselves as peaceful and harmonious rulers and fair rulers, not necessarily conquerors. But it still appears that this kind of idea is somewhat important. Again, we don't find many reliefs or anything of at Persepolis of the kings trampling their enemies, but rather working with their enemies, with the people they conquer. And some lasting ideas just to take away. And again, we're going to break down sources and stuff in class, but just some lasting ideas. At the end of the day, Xerxes needs the people to know what he stands for and to be accepted as the king. He wants this image to be continued from his father, which, there was continuity with his dad being accepted, therefore he should be accepted. And that's kind of the whole idea about why he's made to look exactly the same as his dad. It's just like business. It's almost like this business as usual. Yes, I'm not Darius, I'm Xerxes, but everything is going according to plan. Everything will happen as you have seen already happen as per how my father ruled. He stands for all that is good and opposed to evil doing. He will stand up for those that are weak, and those that are weak will not get taken advantage of by the strong. So he's kind of trying to report this idea of equality amongst those underneath him. He worships Ahura Mazda, which we didn't cover that today because we've covered it enough. And he kind of tries to report himself as a ruler that will deliberate and think about the right course of action and not just act according to his own anger and impulse. So that's also an interesting idea, particularly because the Greeks don't report him to be like that at all. They often do report him to be quite impulsive, and he's too proud for his own good.